Tonight I'm going to talk about a one classroom 7A building. This is a religious building for students of high school age. It is used throughout the regular school year. This plan is located on the corner of West Cheney Drive and Parkview Drive in Twin Falls, Idaho. This information is found on the cover of these set of plans. When these plans were drawn, this was in 2009 and had not yet been constructed, so the plans call for expansion of Cheney Drive. However, this is now built. This is for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and these plans include general plans, site development, landscaping, architectural, furnishing, structural, plumbing, mechanical, and electrical. The general plans have the very first page is a cover page. It gives us a sheet index, a drawing index, tells us which pages are which for the subcategories I just mentioned. It gives a small elevation view to give an idea of what the building is to look like. There's also a standard symbols legend, and it gives us a vicinity map as well. The first page of the general plans shows us the 2006 IBC code information. This is the International Building Code. The code is listed, and these plans show that we meet or exceed the required codes. For example, the restroom accessibility shows one accessible fixture type for each accessible restroom, so one ambulatory each. We are showing one accessible fixture type for each accessible restroom, 2 stalls maximum, no ambulatory provided. These general plans give us details for the following: shrub planting, sidewalk detail, mow strip detail, curb and gutter detail, stoop at the doors. This is a concrete pad, kind of a little step outside pad. Shows sodded areas, soil profile. It shows us a light pole base plan view and handicap signs, etc. The site development shows us an overall plan of the area. It gives us a curve table, as this is along a curvy section of the road, showing us the radius, length, chord detail, or chord bearing, and chord length. There's also a legend for this particular page, and shows us how the building sits in a north-oriented fashion. These set of plans have a revision to them, and I have copies of the revisions. There are 3 pages of revisions, and they are indicated as RSD, revised drawing. And these show us an update as per request of the client, or changes in engineering in order to make things fit, etc. In the landscaping details, the structural shows us the elevations for grading for parking. There's a parking area. It shows us which way it needs to be graded for drainage. Shows us the elevations for finished floor. Shows us elevations of the surrounding grass area, and shows us where sidewalk is to be constructed, as well as curb and gutter. The landscape section shows us that there are trees to be planted. This is found on the first page of landscape. This page doesn't tell us what type is to be planted. It just shows us that there are trees to be planted. However, it does show that the area is to be sodded where there is not concrete or building in the way. The landscape details also give us a plan for the sprinkler system, and this entails which sprinkler heads are to be used and exactly how many gallons per minute they should be putting out, and their locations. We have details of how the plants should be planted, and these are just another detail sheet. And then we have some more details as for sprinkler installation, sprinkler box orientation, make it all nice and uniform, as there might be more than one. The architectural plans are going to show us a floor plan. Here on the first page of the architecturals, A1.1 gives us a floor plan. As we see, it shows a one classroom building. We have an office for a teacher, custodial area. We have 2 restroom facilities, each with at least 2 stalls, and a secretarial office as well. Now, this does not give us layouts for any of the electrical. However, this does give us the dimensions of the building. And so the classroom that's going to be built is approximately 18'10" by 24'4". Pardon me, I'm still trying to read these plans as I'm doing this presentation. The second sheet here on the architectural shows us the wall types. There are different types of walls to be constructed. For example, the exterior wall shows that there's to be a 5-inch wide brick exterior. There is insulation and wall sheathing on the interior. The whole exterior wall thickness is approximately 11.5 inches. And it shows the thickness for the interior walls, load-bearing walls. And we'll get to load-bearing walls and structural here in a minute. Architectural shows us the design of the roof, which way the peaks are to be running, where they want valleys in the roof. However, it doesn't tell us the roof pitch, and that's also in the structural, and we'll get to that in a minute. However, it does show that it calls out architectural shingles and how they're to be laid on the building, especially around some of the plumbing that might be sticking out of the roof. And then we get into the elevation views. This tells us how tall the building is, kind of gives us an idea of what the exterior is going to look like. Shows that there's some decoration in the corners of the walls. It shows that we have some columns under like an awning type thing in the front, like a covered front entry, but not completely enclosed. And then we have a wall, like a building section. So if we were to take a knife, cut straight down, pull away, it shows us what the building would look like. It shows us some rafters, shows us where studs might be. This one doesn't show the studs, but it shows where doors, if you were to look where the doors might be, it shows where windows are. And then we get into some details of like insulation, what type of insulation is to be used. It calls out that there's insulation in the rafters. Shows the insulations in the wall, how the wall is built on top of the foundations. And then it shows us just some details on that. And again, we have more wall details. And we have the ceiling plan is called. This shows a suspended ceiling, and it shows how those braces are to be affixed. And then lights will show in the electrical. But it shows kind of the idea of where the lights are here in the architectural. We have some door and window schedules. We have room schedules. Now we're going to skip a few pages and go to our furnishing pages. Now the first page gives us an idea of who is responsible for what. For example, the owner of this will be providing the carpet and installing it. And it tells us the style they want a loop. It's called loop pile, doesn't specify a color. But the wall covering is installed by the contractor and furnished by the contractor. Again, no color specifications. These might be important to know so the contractor knows what they're responsible for providing and installing. They can use this in their pre-bid meetings. We have some more door window treatment schedules. Gives us some symbols saying, yep, classroom is a 2'6" by 5'2" inset window. So, and then more furnishings show where the signage might be. Shows that there's a men and women's restroom signs. We have instructor's office sign. We have a custodian's placard. So these are all called out here in furnishings. And then it shows how, an idea of how the furnishings might be laid out. Shows the desks in the classroom. We have desks in the office. And here in the classroom it says computer station cabinet by owner. So the owner will provide a cabinet for a computer. Looks like they have a projector and a screen. And so that just is shown here on the furnishings. Now we're getting into some of the heavier stuff in the structural. The first one here in the structural just kind of gives us some specifications. Sheathing types, framing nailing schedules, construction material schedules, required nail types, lap splice schedule, concrete protection and reinforcement, design criteria. We have anchor bolt schedule. So this is just kind of a list of what they want used on this project as required by code and as per request of the client. And then the second, here also we have a footing and foundation plan in the structural. This tells us the thickness of the footing, how tall the foundation is, gives us a section detail of where rebar is to be set and how far apart. And then we have our roof framing plan. This page shows which direction the trusses are to be facing, and it gives us some details on the trusses. One of the details is the pitch of the roof. This is a 412 roof. So for every 12 inches out, it's going to drop down 4 inches. Kind of a standard, I would say, lesser snow bearing design. Like this is in Twin Falls, and their snow load bearing will be different than up here or even farther up north. We have some details about how walls are to be built. For example, it calls out for the headers over the doors and windows, whether it might be a double 2x4 header or a single 1x6 header. These details are here in the structural. We also have details of how the trusses are to be affixed to the walls. And then we get into the plumbing. There are 2 restroom facilities, and this calls out some of the piping needed for those, as well as some of the water utilities. Calls out for some, it shows us a water heater detail and some clean out to the sewer grade detail. And it's also here in this set of plans, the plumbing shows the sprinkler system for the fire. Excuse me, I am mistaken. No, I am not mistaken. This is, wastewater and vent scheme or riser diagram. Okay, I am mistaken. This is not a fire system. This is just more plumbing for the wastewater. Pardon me. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking of different jobs here. Here in the mechanical, it tells us what type of ducting is to be used. It gives us a layout in the building of where they want the ducts and the vents to be running. It tells us the type and size of the furnace that they want to use to heat this building, as well as an air conditioning unit. Want to keep the classroom on the cooler side. And then we have some of the electrical. We have some of the electrical plans. First page shows us a telecommunications line, shows us some power coming from the junction boxes, shows power going to our light fixtures out in the parking areas. And then we get into the interior electrical, and it shows us how they want the lights wired, what wires to use, where they want them running. And then the last page of the electrical is just kind of some of the details, you know, for like light switches. We have the building exterior lighting control diagram. We have a single line diagram, so if there's just one light switch type thing. So pretty straightforward building. This is on the more simple side, like I said, one classroom, one office, custodian area, and 2 restrooms. So thanks much.